All right, it is 5:16 and I'd like to call the Mill Pond Park Pool PBC meeting to order. It is August the 3rd. Let's see, it's a little hard to do this two ways. So Mr. Barron, would you please take the roll?
Yes, if members would signify their presence when their name is called. Councilor Donahue.
Unmute yourself.
Here.
Jeff, you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, well, if members would signify their presence when their name is called, please. Councilor Donahue.
Here.
Councilor Anist.
Here.
Mr. Knowlton.
Here.
Mr. Woods. Mr. Bashand. Mr. Batalico.
On, but not on microphone.
Jay is here, but he's not on microphone. Mr. Havens.
Here.
Very good. We have a quorum.
Excellent. You can review the charge.
Next item of the committee's business is the charge of the committee and resolution 2020-69 stated that said committee is charged to work with the town manager and or his designee and any other appropriate town staff in the oversight of Mill Pond Park Pool project and related activity. Such improvements shall comply with the appropriate sections of the fire code, health code, building code, and OSHA regulations of the Americans with Disabilities Act, and any other health and or safety code regulations currently in force. Now, although the charge refers to the Mill Pond Park Pool project and related activity, a question has arisen if this includes all the elements of the master plan for the entire park or not. I defer to the town council members that are on the committee to tell the other committee members what the town council's intent was.
I was under the impression that this only had to do with the pool, not the master plan.
About the pool, but if you look at, it says Mill Pond Park Pool Project and related activity. So that could encompass the entire park because it is part of the related activity. It's just subject to, it's just subject to interpretation.
Nope.
Do you know what the council's intent was, Carol?
I don't have that.
Beth, I know Beth is on, but I don't know. I thought it was the pool and related activities with the soccer fields, relocating it, because if we end up moving the pools, then something's going to have to happen where the pools are. You know, it's almost like a domino effect. So I don't think you could just talk about the pools without talking kind of about the whole scheme of the park, because you're not going to leave a void. If we move the pools, a void where the existing pools and where the existing bathhouse is. So it kind of goes hand in hand.
Mayor?
Yep, I'll jump in and say that when Bill came to the council prior to the formation of the committee, he did show a plan that encompassed the pool as well as some other changes to the park. So my impression at that time was that the focus would be on the pool, but that the rest of it would be included as part of the project as well. The plan that was shown to the council did include more than just the pool.
Right. I concur.
So what, I mean,
So
I guess
mute,
my
alternate A, mute my audio, alternate A.
So my understanding is that, you know, it would be up to the committee to decide which pieces, parts, or entirety of the project they wanted to move forward after discussion and presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Next agenda item is the election of officers. You're required to select a chair and a secretary. I am willing to do the minutes if you wish me to, or if you wish to have someone from the committee do the minutes instead, that's fine. I would also recommend that you have a vice chair so that you know who will be chairing the meeting in the absence of the regular chair. And I'm willing to accept nominations from the floor.
I nominate John Donahue for chair.
Who made that motion, please?
Garrett Havens.
Thank you.
Who did you nominate?
John Donahue was
John
chair.
Donahue.
I don't think you can have a counselor because he's only there for his council terms. Usually it's someone from the public.
No, it can be a town council member if you wish.
Okay,
Again, if he were to be replaced in the next election, then obviously the committee would have to have a new chair.
Hey, I did.
Do we have a second to the motion?
I can't hear them.
I do not have a second to the motion.
Yeah, Don Woods, I'll second it.
Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to place a name in nomination? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I'm going to call for a vote. If all the members who wish to have Mr. Donahue as the chair, please signify by saying
We'll
aye.
find out how to do that now.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
All
I,
opposed? The ayes have it. Mr. Donahue, you have the gavel.
Excellent. Thank you very much. As Jeff stated, we should also have a vice chair in case the chair is unable to fulfill his duties. Any nominations? We could pick John because he's not here.
Second that.
Well, you need a motion first.
I know as ex officio, I'm not allowed to weigh in on nominations, but I would recommend if anyone's willing to motion it, Garrett Havens as a vice.
Carol?
I was gonna nominate Don Woods for vice chairman.
Second, Don Woods.
And who gave the second to Mr. Woods, please?
Garrett Havens.
Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Any other nominations from the floor? Okay, all in favor of Mr. Woods for vice chair, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All opposed? Congratulations, Don.
Thank you.
I don't have a problem with Jeff continuing to take the minutes. That would be fine with me. Any
Very good.
discussion? No, all right. So Jeff, do I need a motion for that or?
No, I don't think so. As long as it's acceptable to the rest of the committee, I'm happy to do that.
All right, all in favor of Jeff being able to continue to take the minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Congratulations, Jeff.
Thank you.
Okay, I am looking at my, all right, so up on the screen. Yeah.
You are, Mr. Chairman, you are now also a co-host on it. So if you would open the participants window on the bottom of your screen, and if you select the attendees on the right side of that, you'll be able to see anybody who raises their hand to speak, as well as the participant of the panel itself.
Okay, thank you very much, James.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's open up for public participation. We are live on channel 16. We are live on Zoom. The Zoom instructions are on the screen. If you're calling in by phone, *9 to raise your hand. And there's all the numbers. So we'll give it a minute to see if anybody calls in, or anybody panelists raise their hand? Okay, I don't see any attendees raising their hands. Okay, let's move on to the next. And I believe this will be Bill who's going to give us the pool history.
That's correct.
Bill, you have the floor.
You're currently muted, Bill.
I didn't even see Bill on anymore.
No, he's on. I can see him.
How about that?
There you go, Bill.
Hey, now we can hear you.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm using my phone, and being blind and using a phone is it's difficult. But anyway, okay. So congratulations to the chairperson and the vice chair. That's great. I think John Bashan should have been the secretary, but that's only my opinion. No, only kidding. So the pool history, just to give you a quick thumbnail sketch.
I took the red thing off.
Jay, can you hear me?
They can't hear anybody.
Okay. Anyway, okay. So, anyways, the 5 years ago, July 1st, I came into town, and I was sitting at my desk first day in the job, and Jeff Barron came to my office and said, "Here's the name of a company, Malone and McBroom, and the former superintendent hired them. You have to design a pool project and park project for Churchill by December 1st for the CIP." So that was kind of a fun project the first day on the job, and I took on the challenge and had public participation, had the council, the public, blah blah blah, and we went through the process of designing a park, which included a field turf for soccer, football, softball. It included moving the pond over to the wetlands area and putting high school sand volleyball courts, tennis courts, basketball, etc. So there's been some talk that why did I switch from my thinking of changing Mill Pond Pool to Churchill Pool, from Churchill Pool. And it was I never had the opportunity to compare the two pools in determining which one was worse. They're about the same age. Mill Pond was first. Churchill was 4 years later, and they're 62 years old, I believe. Mill Pond being older. As my 4 or 5 years go on, I realized I evaluated the program and evaluated the pool construction and all the related ideas, such as the Americans with Disabilities Act, filtration systems, location, and use. Quickly found out that Mill Pond Pool was worse than Churchill, and it had all kinds of issues. And it was renovated in 1988, but that was before the ADA came into effect in 1990 by President Bush on July 26th. So we distributed to you Wesson and Sampson, a engineering firm. I think we have three or four now that have told us both pools, Churchill and Mill, are in disrepair and probably should be replaced. They did offer in some of the Wesson and Sampson some ideas to try to fix them as what you might call a semi-permanent or a fix or a Band-Aid to fix it. But that recommendation is in the millions. And in my professional estimation, it doesn't make any sense at all to spend good money after bad. My experience with pools has been 40 years. I've built several pools and splash pads, have a tremendous amount of experience with it, but I do have consulting reports that we gave you that back up most of the information that we'll be presenting. So moving forward, fast forwarding, Churchill Pool, we moved to Mill Pond I'll tell you that Mill Pond Pool, much to my dismay, when we opened up the filtration system, has 5 home filters that you would use in your backyard. They do not have a commercial filtration system. That is certainly a problem. We have leakage everywhere. All the bathrooms are not accessible. Showers are not accessible, and they leak. Everything leaks pretty much everywhere. We were losing considerable amount of water at Mill, better than Churchill. But I can tell you in today's day, we're losing about $800 a day in water at Churchill Pool. So Mill's worse than that. Churchill has 356,000 gallons. I've already replaced 370,000 gallons in 4 weeks. So we're probably on tune for losing, to give you some kind of estimation, we're probably losing about 20,000 gallons of water a year, a summer. So it's come to a dramatic point where we should start to think about replacing the pools. Some people would say, well, you might throw $20,000 a summer at it. That's way better than spending millions. That's a personal opinion that, some of you may or may not have. But I have heard that before from people. So Mill Pond, the location of Mill Pond, some people say, why am I moving Mill Pond location in the design? When we sat down, we hired TLB Architects for, I believe, about $30,000 to do a conceptual plan. It made great sense at the time because we were redoing the town hall community center, and we had the 2 architects, TLB Architects and Quisenberry, talk to each other, and they would make the facades the same. So that way, when you drove down Garfield Street, you look to your right if you're going eastbound, and the pool would be on that side, and it would look like a government center be in comparison to the left-hand side of the new town hall and Mortensen Community Center. TLB Architects are probably the best architect firm for when it comes to pools and aquatics than probably anywhere in the Northeast. Tremendous amount of experience and resources at their disposal. When Malone and McBroom had a company from Massachusetts, I quickly moved with Jeff Barron and requested that McBroom get rid of that subcontractor and consider hiring TLB, which they did. So that's how TLB came into the picture. So Mill Pond Pool location, someone's asking also, what are some of the reasons why we move it to Garfield Street, closer to Garfield? Well, one, there's hydrostatic pressure. When you dig a hole next to a pond, what we have is hydrostatic pressure of water, pond water bubbling up, there's a full crack in the deep end of the Mill Pond existing pool in the deep end. Water bubbles up, brown water bubbles up. So what you need to do is fill the pool with clean water, and it applies pressure on the top and pushes the pond water. It keeps it at the ground, at the pool level. So that's what we've been fighting for years. This pool has been in disrepair they've recorded over 14 years now that it's in bad shape. So this is no new news to anybody in the town of Newington. So someone said, I know there's someone that also said, it's a lot cheaper to just dig a hole at Mill because it's already excavated and you'd save money. I asked 3 pool contractors, one in front of Tom Lapierre and Clay Pedigo in my office. And I said, if that was the case, would you do it? And he said one word. He said, no. Then he went on to say, absolutely not. If you make a mistake putting a pool in the wrong location the first time, and if you make the mistake the second time and expect a different result, then something's wrong. So that is also TLB's recommendation also. So we have 2 very substantial contractors. Custom Aquatics was the name of the guy, the person that I talked with just recently last week. So if we'd have to dig deeper also, because as you probably know, we took away the diving boards because the hopper in the existing mill is not deep enough or wide enough to support safe diving by any high school or public recreational standards. So that's why we came closer to Garfield Street. We are out of the way, and we are off to the side. And also what makes it a cost savings is that all the utilities are located on Garfield Street. So we wouldn't have to bring them a distance. And as you know, when you're digging both sanitation and water pipes and electricity, it becomes expensive the farther you go. So I think that might answer some of the questions of why did we move it, the location of it. The people have asked, why did I add a splash pad to the project? A splash pad provides entertainment at a very low cost to children and families. And what a splash pad does is what we call the shoulders of a summer. It extends your recreational value from April 1st to October 30th, basically. So you can open a splash pad and with no cost of lifeguarding, no staff costs, and let people utilize the entertainment value of a splash pad. And you hit a bollard or computerized bollard, and the kid that turns on the water, the kids run from one activity, one's maybe buckets that splash water over their heads, or maybe to a little a football that shoots water, or a soccer ball, or whatever the case may be. And then the water goes off and they run to the next event. So after, say, 3 or 4 minutes and you computerize it and tell the computer what you want, then the kids are done. If they leave the facility, the water is not used and you're not wasting any money. In the summertime, the health department, the state health department, in 1932, I believe, have a law that says you have to have a hot shower. So during the summer, we would build it so that you take a hot shower from the pool and you would recycle the water, and that would save on water costs. And then in the off season, that the pool, the 8 weeks that the summer pool would be closed, then you move it to, you would go to a tank with gray, we call it gray water, and we would pump it to the irrigation system and reuse the water at the baseball field, the soccer fields, the adult flag football field, etc. So we would be environmental conscious there. And then someone asked, why did I come up with the idea of moving it at the first with the former town manager? The whole project for next year's construction would have been 12 million. She asked me to try to reduce it to 8 million and put it in 2 phases. You have that report also from TLB Architects of how you would phase it. $8 million included an outdoor family destination pool, a splash pad for $750,000 roughly. And I'm recommending go to $1 million to make it just a little bit bigger. And it also included demolishing, the existing pool and putting up a $300,000 band shelter, which would be a natural amphitheater. So the people would sit on the hill and the amphitheater would be at the edge of the pond, which would be very attractive. And also about $180,000 worth of renovations to the baseball field with dugouts and new backstop, and some work on the adult walk-up fields, which is flag football and adult soccer. There was about 100,000 there or so off the top of my head. So that was the plan there. And then my boss came to me and said there might be some more support for an indoor facility. I wasn't sure if this town could handle an indoor facility 12 months of the year, kind of similar to like a Cornerstone in West Hartford, because it jacks up the price. However, he kept telling me that there was more. He kept hearing and getting vibes that it was more supported to spend money on 12 months of the year with year-round programming for, businessmen in the morning for lap swimming, senior citizens most of the day, after school, high school sports and recreational swimming, and nighttime weekends, etc. So if that was the case, I talked with TLB Architects. and said, how can we make this most efficient? Because I'm always concerned about operating costs. And operating costs can go up to $10,000 to $20,000 a year if you don't put in geothermal for heating and also solar panels on the roof. So you have a upfront cost, a more expensive cost to build it, but then it's almost free, or they pay you back depending on how successful your solar and thermal is. Then they pay you back for the next 50 years. So again, if we're and it's totally up to this building committee of how we're moving forward, but I'm trying to lay out some of the facts for you for decision-making purposes. So the thought is you put an extra few $1 million into the construction, the design and construction, but then you have free operating costs. So when you have an indoor facility, you have to deal with heating the water and heating the atmosphere and dehumidifying the air. So those are some of the things that we talked about. And it would have a sun tanning area outside, outside, and also a adjacent play structure of splash pad. So I think that's a lot of information. I'm open to some questions. That's kind of a thumbnail sketch of where we came in the last 5 years. And it's now totally up to this building committee to decide on the future. Do you want to move forward? If you do want to move forward, do you want to move forward outside, or do you want to do an indoor facility and take it from there? So I guess I'll take any questions that you have.
Excuse me. If you want to use the raise your hand function, we'll just that way. Don?
Yeah, I've got a comment and then just maybe a minor question for Bill. But just to back up what Bill is saying about the deterioration of the pools and how long this has been on the agenda, we did a report back in 2007, which was probably discussed in 2005 or 2006 prior to the report actually being done on the Parks and Recreation, it's called Parks and Recreation Strategic Master Plan. And in 2007, they recommended that the pools be phased out and replaced. And here we are, 2020, still talking about the same thing. It's time. The question I have for Bill is, can you just touch a little bit on how much we've spent on the pools, trying to keep them open on a yearly basis besides the cost of water, just to, again, reinforce the fact that these pools have lived their life?
Yes. When I got here, Dave Langdon spent over $100,000 on trying to fix the leaks around Churchill and Mill, but we've been averaging somewhere about $32,000, maybe $40,000, $50,000 in crack repairs, having companies come in. And every year, it seems to me that it would, if you stop that and stop the leaking of water, there'd be a considerable amount of money to just pay off the debt service to a multi-million-dollar facility. We're throwing away quite a bit of money. In fact, a good example would be I had $32,000 saved in the CIP to do crack repair for Mill when we were going through the budget process. But then as the budget process was going on and COVID hit, we decided not to open Mill Pond Pool. And we were fortunate enough to be able to use the $32,000 in Pools, Parks, and Playgrounds CIP. And we used that to finish off the irrigation system at Emmanuel Christian Academy soccer. So it's absurd, really kind of crazy in my mind. Again, it's a personal opinion, but I try to treat it like it's my own money. And I think we're spending tons of money on trying to put Band-Aids and glue and rubber cement all over the place. I've even last year I hired a scuba diver from Salvo Chlorine Company to come and patch underwater with hydro cement to patch Churchill and Mill Pond while the kids were still, while we're using it to try to keep it going for the summer. So I'm not optimistic in how much longer we can keep patching both pools. Both are in very bad disrepair. We tore up the drain pipe for Mill Pond last summer. We went down, 14 to 20 feet, and the pipes are just collapsing. The storm sewer pipes are just collapsing as we dug it up. So it's not a positive thing, that's for sure.
Billy,
Yes.
one question. If we go with the building type of design, where would that go? Can you fit it in the area you got the pool right now? Or you have to expand it more?
It would be about, about the same footprint, maybe 10,000 square feet more, but it would go more parallel to the down Garfield Street towards the east. That's the way I suspect. Again, I think this committee could, this is just totally up to you guys, but you could hire an architect. You could go out to bid for an architect, but in my opinion, both I think that TLB is a very good architect system, and they already did a lot of the legwork, so we might be able to save some money that way. But again, that's totally up to you guys how you want to move. But he would move from a conceptual design to more of a finished design product for you to look at, with, again, a price budget breakout, just like I gave you for the plan for the outdoor facility. You all have that budget. Every single line item is there. Every single piece of the puzzle is there. And it also has a prediction, I think, of 5% a year for every year you don't build it, for escalation clauses. So as it, different than what I think we saw with the town hall a little bit, this has a plan that's pretty comprehensive, and we could get the same type of plan with an indoor facility, again, with pictures like you have in front of you of the outdoor facility. So you'll get a feel for what it looks like, what it costs, and where it would be placed.
What type of a building are we talking here? Are we talking brick? What type of a building?
I didn't go that far with it, so I don't know exactly. I suspect.
Is
a
a
lot
Butler
of it,
type of building not a question? Or we really don't know yet?
what kind of? I'm sorry, I missed your word.
Butler type of building.
A butler? Oh,
yeah.
I'm sure he would. He's building one like this in Vernon right now, and that gave us some good facts and figures of today's prices.
Yeah.
But I suspect, Jay, that there'd be a whole wall of glass, sliding glass doors, or that kind of opening glass, so that way people can go outside during the summer if they so desired. But I think he would expand. He would explore. He would give us prices on a Butler building. He would give us prices on a block building, any kind of facade that this committee would want.
All right, Jay, just for future reference, if you could use the raise your hand function, get in line to talk.
Okay, John.
He finally got to talk and he's online. It's a good thing. Phil.
Yes.
You have your hand up?
Yeah. Hey, Bill. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, and that's an interesting point, because I thinking that we were going to do the outdoor pool and we're talking about potentially an indoor facility. Either or, if working with TLB, how much would we need for them to come up with a conceptual design, and then the final plans, and is it different, depending on what we're asking for?
That's Garrett speaking, right?
And that's Phil.
Phil.
Oh, Phil. I'm sorry, Phil. I did not go that far. I could contact TLB and ask them what they would do for a conceptual design for an indoor facility, and then ask them to price out. I'm going to guess in your budget for the family destination pool, there was, I think, a 7 to 10% complete cost for the architect during that included construction management and seeing the project from beginning to end. So I would guess it would be somewhere in the same game, but I guess there would be a economy of scales that the bigger you go. So I could, if the committee wanted me to, I could contact him in writing and ask him for what he would charge us for a conceptual design of an indoor facility. So that way you could compare the prices, and I would ask him to include geothermal and solar panels and then not include it, so that we would know, we could have 3 or 4 prices. So that way this committee would have all the, I always think if you have all the information in front of you, you make better decisions.
All right. Don, you had your hand up again, or did I forget to lower your hand from the last time?
Oh, no, I just wanted Bill to bring up one other thing. Bill, can you just give the numbers of attendance in the pools? And I realize there are many repeat visitors, but the total number of attendees during a typical summer, not this summer, but during a typical summer of both pools. I think that might be helpful for everybody.
Yeah, it is. Both pools were almost the same, between 18 and 21,000 visits per pool in 8 weeks. So, let's just say 19,000 each. And that included swimming lessons and senior citizen swim and recreational swim. Churchill has a big difference, I think, is that they have picnics. We rent out the 3 picnic pavilions. So Saturdays and Sundays get a big picnic usage. Mill Pond, it seems to have a neighborhoodish feeling to it, but both of which get tremendous amount of numbers. I can tell you that those numbers would put surrounding towns to shame.
Thank you.
All right. Phil, did you have your hand up again, or I space out and I'll put it down?
Let's see here. Oh, there we go. One thing if you can still hear me, Bill, this is my first time on doing the Zoom. So, and I'm trying to find a plug to plug in the iPad real quick, but that's why I'm not on video. But real quick, I've got a 20-year-old, a 17-year-old, and a 2.5-year-old, and we started out in West Hartford, and we went to all the different splash pads over there originally, and moved from my three family there over here. And so I'm a big fan. I feel as though splash pads are a gateway to swimming activities for young kids, and allows them not to be fearful of the water. Also allows families to know that, there is, swimming lessons and such through the town, and we offer this almost intangible community benefit. Could you elaborate a little bit on the difference between I think it was maybe potentially a 4,000 square foot, the splash pad that you have listed versus the one that you wanted to potentially upgrade to? What the difference in, if it's size or amenities?
Yeah, it's both. It's size and amenities. There's so many different objects to choose from, and depending on the amount of money you have to work with, you try to work with the company, Vortex company or whatever, and make it happen. But there's some examples of those are, there's a rainbow that the kids run under, and it sprays them just constantly, or there's 7 buckets, and the buckets fill the next bucket fills the next bucket, and finally it drops on your head. There might be soccer balls and football and baseballs that shoot water if you squeeze a handle, and they can spin around so the kids can squirt each other. There's all kinds of climbing apparatus that spray water. So it's pretty impressive things. But I did want to mention that if you do build an indoor facility like a Cornerstone, West Hartford would tell you that it draws people to buying homes, condos, and apartments in West Hartford. And what they're finding is like the Macaulay Center, which is my parents-in-law are out there. My wife's parents are at Macaulay, and people from senior citizen assisted living places, which we are loaded with those. Where a third of the population are senior citizens. They take season memberships and actually use it as a calling card to buy memberships at Cornerstone when they're at an assisted living in West Hartford. So it's pretty impressive to know that if you are trying to promote Newington, the Parks and Recreation system can certainly draw young families with these splash pads, or they can draw the senior citizen population and everything in between. So I think that's an important concept for this committee to know. I think you got a pretty important task ahead of you.
All right, Garrett? You have to unmute yourself, buddy.
Oh, sorry. Looking at the display on the screen, how are we going to deal with the hydrostatic pressure for, say, like what appears to be the diving area, which is going to be significantly deeper than the rest of the pool? And it doesn't seem to be that far away from the pond as opposed to the existing structure. Are we going to run into the same kind of problems, a couple years down the road?
First of all, I've never gotten a chance to meet you, Garrett, so hello. The answer to that probably would be that if we got farther into it, it would be more towards the east, away from the pond. So our design would be more towards the library end of things. And I suspect TLB would recommend to us, and if they didn't, I'd be surprised, but I would recommend doing borings. We would have a geologist come in and do some boring so we would avoid that problem.
Thank you.
Okay, Carol, you had your hand up. Did you take it down?
No, yeah, I did, but I'm putting it back up again. Bill, is there a way to reach out to TLB and see if they could sketch into their February 2018 plans how they would situate the pool if we did do an enclosure?
Yes, I think that's what Phil might have been asking is, could we, hire them to do an indoor facility drawing and what it would include and basic estimations of price costs?
Well, I'm not even going that far. If they could just take what they did in 18 and just kind of sketch over, I think it's on page 2. They could just sketch over how they could do an overlay of how the pool would be.
Okay.
They would something that we're not incurring a lot of dollars because we don't know which way we want to go, but I think we would want to see how it would be and how close to the pond and a lot of what kind of building. They're looking for something more of a solarium where you do have more glass than you have rather than a Butler building, something that's going to look aesthetically pleasing. I would like to see that before any decisions would be made.
Yeah, I could ask him to do as much as he could for free.
Even like a low end, but
Yeah. I think let me make sure we're clear on this. If we go to the idea of an indoor facility, it would look much different than what you're seeing of the outdoor facility. So, for instance, you would probably design a competitive pool. It'd be like 3 different pools. You'd have a competitive pool for Newington High School with a diving well, and you'd have a minimum of 200 seats. That's what the CIAC in Connecticut requires. And then you would have a warm pool for senior citizens and little children for swim lessons. And then you would have a recreational area also. So it would look much different than what you're looking at. But since he's doing the Vernon one, maybe he would be willing to kind of adapt that and place it in Mill Pond Park for free or very little money.
Could we get
Is that-
pictures of what the Vernon project looks like?
I don't know where he is in the plans, but yes, I'm sure he would. He did Cornerstone. He's done South Windsor. He's done a lot. I mean, he does Wesleyan. He does a lot of colleges. He's, I think he told you at the council meeting, he flew to Italy to check out Mirtha pools and all different kinds of different operations to be most knowledgeable about all the different options.
All right, thanks, Bill. I had a question. It's probably just because I can't read it because they're printed out so small. But
Yep.
the spreadsheet that's on page 11.
Yep.
And it lists all the baseball improvements and everything else. And I see the aquatics at, God, I wish I could read it. James, can we go to page 11 of the big presentation? There you go. I'm looking at the aquatics, right? And it says $5 million. Is that for just the pool area? I don't see anything about so there's a splash pad. So I see to do the bathhouse, swimming pool, pool decks, water slide. I see $5 million. Am I missing something?
I can't see it either, but I think by memory.
Sorry, Bill, yeah.
Yeah, by memory, I believe you're correct.
Okay, so how are we getting to the 12? Is that for the whole project?
The 12 was the whole master plan of Mill Pond Park, which included a nature walk and trails from the from the tennis courts. It was redoing 4 tennis courts, putting in a Kevin Ollie basketball, handicap accessible basketball court for kids with disabilities, a regular basketball court, improvements to the soccer fields, 3 pavilions on the soccer field area for both youth soccer and for picnics on the weekends. And it included demolishing the existing bathhouse and putting in the amphitheater for concerts.
Okay. I want to make sure nobody else has their hands up, so I don't.
So 8 million. So let me just follow up. So 8 million was what they recommended for a phase 1 of the 12 million. We thought we could do tennis and basketball in pavilions at a later date, but we thought for 8 million, we should do the whole aquatics piece and demolish the existing bathhouse and replace it with the concert thing. So that's how we got to the 8 million under the former town manager thinking.
Okay, because I think in the council meeting, we had talked about the 8 million, and then the following week it came back at 12, but I didn't realize it included the rest of the master plan.
I know, I was dying at home listening to that. I wanted to chime in, but I didn't. And also just remember my opening comments that I did not come up with the indoor facility. I know I've been pegged on it, but I did not, that was not my idea.
All right, so like I said, anybody else want to jump in? I don't want to absorb everybody's time. So if we did the indoor facility, looking at one of the notes from TLB or TLB,
Yep.
The indoor facility alone would come in at, trying to find a piece of paper here.
I think it's like 15 or 20 million.
So that's just for the indoor facility. Then we would add on the rest of the enhancements to the park.
I'd have to clarify that for sure, but it could be as low as 12 million. So let's say 4 million would go towards, let's see, 5, 6, 7, 8. 4 million would be the basketball courts, tennis, and all that. 5 for the aquatics gets into 3. I would say 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 million would be the rest of the park. So yeah, it could be like 15 million plus 7 could get you to 21 million. Yep. And that would be the whole park plus an indoor facility.
All right.
And those are rough, obviously rough numbers.
I understand. Probably on the light side.
Maybe.
The other question was, now, we all We all remember a few years ago when we tried to build on Mill Pond, a huge facility. You know, it's just going to ire the town like it did the last time. I have to think that people are going to be opposed to building a big facility on Mill Pond again.
Yeah, I wasn't here for that, but I do believe a couple things happened. One, I think it was a political issue. That's my personal opinion. And then Phil's online. Phil could probably answer this better, but I think it wasn't sold. I think there was some nervousness that maybe some soccer fields were being taken away. And that obviously we're conscious of that, and that would not be the case. But Phil could answer that better than I. Or maybe Don Woods. Don Woods was around.
Yeah, I can, let me do my raise. Raise my hand.
Go ahead, Phil.
There we go. I raised my hand.
Thank you.
Yeah, just to provide some historical perspective, off of Willard, they wanted to put the new Parks and Rec and Town Hall right where the soccer fields are, and where you all have the fireworks currently, and right in the backyard of some nice folks that live over on Cross Street. So luckily cooler heads prevailed, and the Mill Pond, the Town Hall is where it is. And the one thing I'd like to sort of convey to Bill is in a sort of a question / comment is, given the consideration that you would have if your plan is to shift the pool and also splash pad over towards the community center, that also I think helps lend to safety and security of the swimming pool area. And just to give a few examples, in the last 15 years, the city of Hartford has lost at least 2 children. One as recently as just over a year ago in Hope Park and Keeney Park for going in after hours. So I can't help but think, Bill, that maybe safety and security would be a good argument also to try to bring that new facility over towards towards the police department and also the town hall where there's a lot more people.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Phil. Every time we design new, even in my former city that I worked in, we started moving pools closer to the road. So even if a cop was driving, an officer was driving by, they'd have a good visual to it. So yeah, I totally agree with you. And that is one of the reasons TLB suggested it.
And for, safety and security purposes, Hartford did invest $60,000 in a security camera system that apparently wasn't working at the time of the most recent death. So, we can invest in technology, but sometimes, a good cop on the street is worth a lot more.
Yes.
Thank you, Phil. Don, you have your hand up?
Yeah, just to go back over the ill-fated referendum on Mill Pond Park. In addition to the opposition to the loss of soccer fields, which I think Phil will agree to some extent got a little bit blown out of proportion because there were opportunities to replace the fields on the main park itself. But there was a lot of misinformation. Social media entered the scene rather big time, and that was probably the first time it's ever been in an issue during anything, during an election or during a referendum. But the reality is, with this facility being located where it is, and then the restoration of the old facility once it's torn down, I don't think there's any loss of green space, and we're just replacing the existing footprint, maybe slightly larger. I won't argue that with the new facility, but the old facility was very similar and in the wrong place. And so far, 2 people have advised us against. 2 architectural professional people have advised us against putting the pool in the same location. So I think if we can get out a positive message and get ahead of the whole referendum idea, I think positivity sells pretty well until negativity takes the lead. If negativity takes the lead, it's very difficult to create positivity once that happens, in my opinion.
And social media, we're gonna have a tough time keeping social media out of it.
I do know social media, yeah.
We love social media. All right. Anybody have a lot of information to take in? I'm sure John Bashan would have 1,000 questions, but he's not here, so he misses out. So anything else from the committee? I still don't see any. All right. Let's move on. I don't have the agenda in front of me. I'm sorry.
Next item is any other business pertinent to the committee. And basically, I think you want to determine what night of the week you wish to meet and the time of the day or evening that you wish to meet.
All right. Carol?
Well, I think instead of having a set, I think we should, I know we're gonna have special meetings anyhow. So I think we just gotta keep moving this along. So if we can have a meeting, like in the beginning, we're gonna need more meetings to really decide how we wanna move forward with this and what our timeline's gonna be, which we really haven't discussed. So I would like to see a meeting probably next week so we can discuss the timeline and Bill can get us some more information so we can determine what that timeline's gonna be.
All right. 5:15 is a little tough for me. I mean, I know that both Carol and I are busy on Tuesday. So you want to say maybe next Monday, 6 o'clock?
I have a meeting next Monday night.
Okay.
At 6 o'clock. I mean, we could do 7, well, probably 7.
I can be flexible also. What do the other folks on the committee think?
I'm better after 7 p.m. This is Phil. I've got to get my son down by about 7:30. So I can peel off it. I can start meeting at 7 or at 5. 6 is tough.
Okay, I just threw out a number. It just was a wrong number.
Sorry, my meeting's on the 17th, not the 10th.
Okay, so do we want to do the 10th at 7 o'clock? If that works for everybody?
I think 7 o'clock's a great time.
Okay, so
All right, next meeting will be August 10th at 7 p.m.
all right, it'll be a Zoom meeting. We'll get it on CTV and streaming. And Jeff, you'll send out the meeting minutes, and
Yes, I will.
and Bill's gonna go to work and see what he can get for free.
So I will contact TLB tomorrow morning and ask them 2 things. One, I'll see if they'll share with us whatever they're doing in Vernon up to date, if they are at all, and if in what he would do for us to sketch it out location wise and what it might include on Garfield Street for an indoor facility. And that way you'll have a little bit more information. And as fast as I get it, I'll give it to Jeff to shoot out to you guys for as fast as we can before Monday's meeting. I can't promise you, he travels all over New England, so I don't know what he will be willing to do, but I'll pursue it for sure.
All right, and Carol?
Yeah, even if he can give us like the sketch that he showed them, like a schematic sketch, just something so we have a visual.
Sure.
It would help us. The other thing is, I know I'm a paper person. I'd like to see maps and plans in front of me and not on my computer screen. So James was very gracious, and so was Jeff, to give me paper copies of everything today. So if anybody else feels the same way, I would suggest doing it that way, because it's so much easier to be able to follow along than trying to do it on your computer screen, and you could take notes on it and stuff. So any information that you can provide us on paper, I would appreciate it, until we have live meetings where we can, things will be projected up on screens for us. It's hard looking at each other talking and trying to, it's just very, very difficult. And you can't flip yourself when you're on a computer screen with James video.
Do I deliver those to your house, or how does that work?
You can arrange that with Jeff and James.
Okay.
Yeah, I tried to print out the presentation, but my printer gave up the ghost about halfway through.
Yeah, and you need, you know, you need the 11.5 by 14 paper too.
Yeah.
Yep, yep.
So, I mean, 17 paper. So,
Yeah, we'll do the best we can on that. Yep.
okay, great, thank you.
That's all we can ask. All right, so anything else from the committee? All right, I don't see any hands up. Do we go back to anyone from the public would like to comment? We're live on Zoom. The instructions are on the screen. If you're calling in by phone, *9 to raise your hand to be recognized. I'll give it a minute. I only see 4 people on the attendees list, and one of them's me. All right, I don't see any attendees raising their hands. You know, if somebody has a question I think of afterwards, you know, feel free to reach out. All right. Imagine the next thing is comments by members. I think we're commented out unless somebody has something last minute. Okay, don't see any hands. Okay, I guess we make a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Don Woods.
Second?
Second, Garrett Higgins.
Second.
Second, everybody.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. We'll get the meeting minutes out and we will meet next Monday at 7 o'clock. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for attending. Thanks for watching, guys.
Thank you, everything. So everyone.